So, welcome to CAS reflection number 20. So I just got home from Scouts about 30 minutes ago, and as you can tell, I am dirty, sweaty, and completely gross. However, what happened today was we started, and it was a little bit of a rough start because, we really struggled because the other group has an unfortunate, I'm a bit warm, so I'm taking off my skating from over a couple of layers underneath. So the other group has a habit of changing the lock on the places where the fire pits are kept, because they constantly lose their keys, which isn't great for us because we then can't get into them. So we were extremely happy about that when we got there today. So they were trying to sort that out. In the end, they managed to climb over, so that was dealt with. The good thing is I'd planned enough in advance, so I had all the stuff ready. When we did the pickup sticks, it went really well, but the problem was that Duncan went on one of his tangents when we were doing the first bit. Is basically about safety and how you do this and that and the other. So that went, that he just kind of went off on a tangent for a minute instead of it just being fast like I needed it to be. It's okay, it was helpful and the kids learned. Then we did pioneering and they all listened, but one of them I didn't call him out on it because I might have been standing in the wrong place, but he was turning a log around and almost hit me in the face. And I also really struggled to get them to listen. Then luckily Wouter was there, and so he was helping me because I'm quite a quiet person, but I was a lot better at it. I was like, okay, I've repeated myself 3 times now, because I think the major thing is to make them aware of what they're doing. Make more of, hey, this is actually affecting another human. Maybe I should da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yes. Yeah, moving on. Then next, we started going through all of the, then once we'd done that took a really long time. Actually, it took a lot longer because they were all kind of done in a bit of a terrible way because I'd made it too difficult, so I had to reorganise it a couple of times. A couple of times I did have to make a couple of calls, and that was the very helpful thing. Vat was there to help me, get on it, make sure nobody was doing stuff. Yeah, I need to ask them for pictures. Yeah, so I need to ask them for pictures, and I'm gonna upload this in the morning. so excited to be done. And then the rest of the stuff was, and then when we moved on to the second bit, everyone really seemed to understand it, and the good thing was I had plenty of leaders around. But the problem was I did feel like I was standing around for quite a bit of it, but that's the thing, is I can't really be doing a job, is because I'm trying to like make sure nobody gets hurt, and a couple of major things. And then at one point, one of the kids got out a water gun. It's the same kid who's got it out the last 2 weeks in a row. And so I basically was like, okay, again, like I did last time, I'm not dealing with this. So I got one of the leaders too, and one of the leaders picked it up off of him. So that was dealt with in very much due time. Yeah, sorry, my brain is very scattered. It's very late and I really need to go to bed. And then after we'd had that, after the leaders, and then when we were doing through the next activity, it was actually going really well, and I was explaining what to everyone, but the problem was I had quite a lot of younger ones being like, hey, can I have seconds? And one of the kids asked me about 3 times. So I was very patient. I was like, nope, not until everyone's had one, not until I'm sure. And then I asked Duncan, he was like, no, we don't have time. Because the thing that happened was one team got it basically snapped immediately because they just built a really hot fire with paper, and then it completely died afterwards. And that was the things that I was trying to get them to go into groups. The problem that I did have with Duncan today was he was kind of taking over a little bit, and I was like, dude, I have plans. I'm like, because for the first bit, I specifically split them up, and they were actually learning how to work together. But then for the second thing is that they all kind of all worked differently. The good thing about having the explorers by themselves was that they actually had to collaborate, which was really, really helpful. And one thing I always struggle with is that they don't wait to ask a question. Like, if I had one very specific example today that I need to kind of remind them of next time, is that I was talking to one person, asked me a question, then one other kid comes from behind me and says, hey Lucy, da 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 da, and I'm like, no, wait. Another kid comes from this side and is like, hey, can I have a marshmallow? And I'm like, hold on. And then the next kid that comes up to me, I have to be like, stop, hold on. And then I answer everyone's questions in the order they came to me in. And it was just one of those instances where it's not an extremely pleasant experience. So, yeah. I dealt with all of that today, which was delightful. Yeah, so it's been a not unstressful time. The things that went well was I was a lot more prepared, and any of the problems that went wrong I was able to deal with, and I already had everything set up before I got there, and I was able to delegate really well. I did apologise for not kind of standing in the middle, but they were like, Lucy, we don't care. Like, I had leaders doing each different part. Two kids were one of the cub leaders, Kai. He went and looked after, made sure his brother and all the boys were okay, which is good because he's very good at telling them to just sit down, shut up, and get on with it, which was very helpful. And I was giving some feedback at the end, which is I should always be facing towards the lights. That way they can always see what I'm saying, see what I'm doing, because of like facial expressions I'm making at them. And so what I'd say about this process, I've become a lot more patient with them. I've also a lot more aware of their own weaknesses and how to really bring together a group, because I think I really did that. Like on the last one, I was mentioning to Annie, who was standing next to me, I was like, they're working together. They're collaborating, they're listening to each other. Like, oh my God, this has never happened before. So that was great. But then Duncan put them all together for their own groups, which is fine, but sometimes it can be quite counterproductive. In the end, all of the groups did manage to snap their string. But the group that did it first, their fire immediately died again, so I had to go and get them to go and roast their marshmallows with the other group. But sometimes the problem is either I'm not loud enough, or I just really, really struggle to get their attention. I think it's a combination of I am not a particularly loud person, and they are particularly loud and unlistening people, which can be quite frustrating sometimes. Anyway, they told me I did very good, and most of the stuff that I struggled with was basic, and I was a little bit short with them at times, but I think my problem is that my version of short is my version of short meaning rude, is everyone else's version of they've pulled a string, now they find out, which is something that, I need to work on, being a bit more confident in myself, but I definitely had that. I was a bit more unapologetic. Like, sometimes I'd have the explorers come up and say random stuff to me, and I would just be like, no, get away from me. Like, while you are my friends and I care about you, I don't need you here right now. So that was the next thing I did. I'm trying to think of any other stuff that happened. One of the kids got the water gun again, and dealt with that. But mostly when it came to the kids, they were very helpful once I told them no. And also what I've made a very good big effort of is like telling the kids, hey, you're actually doing really well on this. Well done, I'm proud of you. And things like that, which I think is really, because like you tend to do better when you know somebody's watching or appreciating what you're doing. And I also taught them how to do a couple of things. One of the things I struggled with is always with, particularly the boys, is listening and paying attention. Like, I explained, hey, when you're carving, do it away from you and do it on the edge. And then I see one of the kids with my knife, a piece of wood on the side of a thing, just going down like this. And I'm like, that's not what I taught you to do. And then I said, hey, do you want me to show you it again? He's like, no, this is how I was doing. This is how you taught us to do it. I was like, I don't have the time for this right now. And he's 15, so I can assume that if he cuts himself, it's no longer my problem. Anyway, with that, most of the time it's, maybe I should have shown him again, but he was doing it slightly correctly. It was just the fact that he was doing it on the side, and if he was going to hurt himself, we'd given them the safety brief. He's more than capable anyway. That is my rationale for that. And also for a 15-year-old kid to be putting in 15, he's fine. He survived. The great thing, thank you.